Okay, so I'm going to do a first couple of them for you so that you understand how to do it. So when we're dividing fractions, you need to remember the rules. You've learned this all the way since 5th grade. You keep, change, flip. Okay, so we are going to keep this one. We are going to switch the division to a multiplication, and we are going to flip this one here. Now, you might say, well, this is a whole number. How do we flip it? Well, every whole number has a 1 underneath it. So we're going to flip it, and we're going to make it 1 over 3. Okay, now once we've done this, let's look at what our sign is going to be. Well, we have a positive divided by a negative. So a positive divided by a negative, your answer already you should know is going to be negative. So go ahead and do that so that you don't forget. And then what are the rules of multiplying fractions? You multiply the numerators. 1 times 1 is 1. And you multiply the denominators. 2 times 3 is 6. So your answer on this one is negative 1/6. Let's look at the second one. Well, this is similar. Now, the first thing we're going to do is let's put a 1 underneath this 6. Okay, and now let's remember, keep, change, flip. So this is going to be negative 6 over 1. We're going to keep it the same. We're going to change this to a multiplication, and we're going to flip this one. So now it's going to become negative 4 over 3. Now, what is our answer going to be, negative or positive? Let's look at that next. You have a negative times a negative. Well, a negative times a negative is going to be a positive. Okay, so now we don't have to worry about that anymore. Now, let's multiply the numerators. 6 times 4 is 24. 1 times 3 is 3. So we have 24 over 3. Okay, and what is 24 over 3? Remember, this is an improper fraction, and you can go ahead and divide in order for you to know what your full answer is. But you don't really have to. You could probably see it here that 24 divided by 3 is 8. Now, if you leave it as improper fraction, it's not incorrect, but I want you to recognize that the answer could appear like this, or the answer could appear like this in a test, and it's exactly the same thing. Okay, let's look at number 3. You have 5, 6, keep, change the sign, and this is 10 over 1, so let's flip it. Now it's 1 over 10. You have a positive and a positive, so your answer is going to be positive. 5 times 1 is 5. 6 times 10 is 60. Now, this is the correct answer, but could you simplify 560? Well, let's see. If you divide this by 5 and divide this by 5, you have 5 divided by 5 is 1. 60 divided by 5 is 12. So the correct answer is 5/60 or 1/12 in simplified form. Okay? Let's do a couple more for you. These right here. Okay, so let me flip this paper so we have a clean paper for you. Okay, so here we just have a normal division. So let's rewrite it. 5.25 divided by 15. Now, it's a positive divided by a positive. So you know your answer is going to be positive. Let me just put positive here, okay? Now, to divide this, this is going to be your denominator. I'm sorry. This is going to be your divisor, and this is going to be your dividend. So we're going to bring this down, 5.25. Okay, so 5.25 divided by 15. The first thing you do is you lift up your decimal. And now you start saying to yourself, does 15 go into 5? No. Does 15 go into 52? Yes. So you know you're going to need a digit on top of the 2. Okay, so how many times does 15 go into 52? Now I want you to get used to doing notes here very cleanly because you might need it afterwards. So let's say 15 times 1, you know it's 15. 15 times 2, you know it's going to be 30. 15 times 3 is 45. 15 times 4 is going to be 60. That's going to be too much. So it's 15 times 3. 3 times 15, you know it's 45. Now you subtract. 52 minus 45. You can borrow from the 12. This becomes 4. 12 minus 5 is 7. 4 minus 4 is 0. Bring down your 5. How many times does 15 go into 75? Well, we know 15 times 4 is 60. 15 times 5, well, another 15 over here, 75. It's an even 75, so it's 5. 5 times 15 is 75, and your answer is 0.35. And it's going to be positive because we already determined that. Okay, now if you see it like this, okay, 24 divided by negative 3.2. Right off bat, I know that a positive divided by a negative, my answer I know is going to be negative. So let's determine that from the beginning. And now when you see it like that, if you forget where it goes, put it in fraction form. 24 divided by 3.2. So then you know to make your bracket and bring the 24 down here. Okay? Now, remember from 5th grade, I didn't put the negative here because I already determined my answer is going to be negative. Remember from 5th grade that you cannot have a decimal in your divisor. So we're going to move the decimal one time to the right. But if you move it to the right, then here you have to also do the same thing and move it to the right. So every whole number has a decimal at the end. So if I did it one time over here, I have to do it one time over here and add a 0. Now, I don't want you working with this mess. I want you to rewrite it. So this becomes 32 divided, 240 divided by 32. Now, this decimal, you're going to push it up. And now start saying to yourself, does 32 go into 2? No. Does 32 go into 24? No. Does 32 go into 240? Yes. So your your number is going to start right here. And everything else is going to be to the right of the decimal. The reason I do this is so that you can stay aligned correctly. Now you start determining how many times does 32 go into 240? Well, I kind of know by looking at this. If I round 30 and I say, well, 30 times 8, 8 times 3 is 24. So if it was 30 times 8, it'll be 240. So 8 is going to be too much. So let's try 32 times 7. Let's test it out here on the side. Oops. So 7 times 2 is 14. 7 times 3, 21, 22. That's really close. So it's going to be 7. 7 times 32 is 224. And now we subtract. Borrow from this guy. He becomes a 3. 10 minus 4 is 6. 3 minus 2 is 1. And 2 minus 2 is 0. After you subtract, you can bring down a 0. And now you say, how many times does 32 go into 160? Well, I know 7 is 224. We can try 5. Or we could try 6. Let's try 6 first. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18, 19. That's too big. So let's try 5. 32 times 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 3 is 15, 16. Oh, perfect. 160. 5. 5 times 32 is 160. And now you have 0. So your answer is 7.5. And because in the beginning we already determined it was going to be a negative, now we don't have to worry about that because we determined it in the beginning. So your answer is negative 7.5. All right, guys, I hope this helped.